summertime.
Yeah, talking about summer, it's been crazy. Yeah, I tell you what, this past winter was brutal, so I'm really happy it's been summer.
Well, you guys on the East Coast have it a little bit tougher than us out here, but it's good to connect anytime. But yeah, it's middle year, unbelievable. So the year just started, but here we are.
But you know what's great about summer, right?
What's that?
Hot women in bikinis.
There you go. There you go. And that's California's made up for that. The beaches and the rest. So yeah, we're in the same place as that.
All right. Well, starting off, like I said before we got started, it's a normal conversation. You can ask me anything you want. It's uncensored. You can curse if you want to. And for people who want to know what uncensored is, uncensored's my way to show people that even with a learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, turning myself into a perfect example for people out there deaf, blind, or in a wheelchair. And it doesn't matter white, black, Asian, you should never label yourself. And if you're very passionate about your goals, you should prove to people you can still mount to something no matter what. You don't have to label yourself or, the whole stereotype bullshit.
You're exactly correct. And we've talked before, and I'm 100% in agreement with you there. So that's a great philosophy to live by and to share with people. So just don't keep that quiet within you. That's great to hear.
I do have a job offer for you. I will mention after the show, but I just wanted to bring it up just beforehand.
Okay.
Now,
sounds good.
Starting off, I don't know if people heard our last conversation, but starting off, what can you tell me about yourself?
Well, as you see, I have all these things in front of me, behind me, on my head. Most of what I do every day, Keith, is voice acting, which means the commercials you hear on TV, the things you hear on radio, cartoons, regular TV car commercials, audiobooks, those types of things. That's what I do, and I've actually worked at that for now close to 11 years. And I've even had a few jobs this week. I just had one yesterday for a company that's doing a thing for Chicago. I do African accented work. I do things all around the world, so it's fun to do. But because I just had a workout, meaning there are 4 or 5 people from around the nation that we got together on Skype as we are here. And we do a sample of simple scripts that people want to work on, try to improve themselves, and we help each other say, well, no, if you'd have done this, you'd have done that, it would have sounded better. So instead of waiting for an audition, which we typically get via email, we do it on Skype, and we get to work with each other, play with it, and we record it so people can hear what they did. But because people see these, normally on Skype you'll just see people looking at the computers, but this hookup is what I normally work on. This microphone, this was made in Germany. It's called a Neumann, and these headphones, same thing, so I can hear myself. But it's connected through my computer, and I work like this every day, really. So this is a major part of my work. But I'm also on screen, TV work, some movies, mostly TV commercials. I just finished one for Toyota that's going to be out soon. For most everybody will see soon. Hopefully they'll start turning on. I'll play a dealer in a Toyota commercial. So I'm busy every day, just about some way auditioning, TV, radio, voice, on camera. So I'm very blessed that way. But I really left behind my work I used to do years and years ago, which was corporate sales and aerospace. So that's in the past. This is what I do now. So
do you miss it?
You know what? I don't miss the day-to-day kind of cubicle work. And in fact, I don't miss the travel. I used to travel 2 weeks of every month. And that got to be, it was fun at first. Oh, let's get on a plane. Okay, yeah, here's a ticket. Let's get a rental car. Let's go to a hotel. And, after, let's say, 10 years of that, you don't want to see a plane. You don't want to see a hotel. You don't want to see a rental car. But it was fun to go to big, nice cities where you are in New York or Paris or, somewhere in Rio, somewhere. It's great. It's fun to go see that. And I used to work around planes and the space shuttle. Those are lifetime life experiences. I loved that. But the day-to-day, you go to Wichita, Boise, or somewhere that you just rather be at home, at the end of the night. Instead in a hotel eating bad food or waiting to go to some meeting you really would prefer not to. So I love my work, even though it's the pay can be up and down and the jobs are up and down. Every time you do a job in entertainment, you're unemployed the next day. So you just have to keep working and striving for better and better and better, and that's what I do. But I do love this work, and I don't miss it. I don't miss it. I enjoy this when I get a chance to do it and talk to friends like you. So it's good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Now it's funny. You're actually, I did interview voiceovers before, but you're actually one in. People don't know, a good friend of mine who actually didn't give me a hard time about doing this. Actually, you were kind of hesitant in the beginning, but then I guess you turn over to the dark side. you sort of from my point of view.
Yeah, it's just time. It's just time being available. I'm almost the time I get up to in the night sometimes, especially when you're doing audio books and things that just really put you in. So my time is almost competent to what I used to do, but it's what I want to do. And that's what it is when you really do what you love. It doesn't turn out to be work or turn out to be punching a clock or just drudge. Oh man, when do I get to finish this? You just do it till it's done, and it doesn't feel as though you want to. So it's a good place for me to be now. Finally we get the chance to connect again.
No, I've been waiting for it. I interviewed a couple other people. I don't know if you know them. One of them was, what was it? Her name was Karen, and I don't know, something with a G. I just know that was that. I know her name is Karen.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw one of your interviews with a good friend of mine named Christine Padovan. She's in the Bay Area. She's a good friend. She is also a voiceover professional. Does tons of audiobooks. She's well known in that field. So I saw that one, but I don't know the Karen. I'm not sure. But probably if I heard a voice, I know who she was.
What about, let's see, what was it? I did an interview with Stephanie, Vale. She was Mary Jane in Spider-Man.
Oh, in New York?
Yes.
Yes, I know. She's a very famous, well-known voiceover expert. So that's great. Congratulations to you to get a chance to talk to her. So I'm sure she had great things to say. So she's well known.
Well, I tried, you mentioned 2 points about I was going to ask you. Being a voiceover, is it do you guys have a fear of being seen? Because she turned down being back on my interview, and so did someone else, because they're saying, oh, we're a voiceover, so that's why we do voiceovers. We don't want to be seen on camera. But you're a voiceover, and you're on camera, so what's the difference?
Well, here are a couple things. I started out, actually, in San Francisco. I wanted to do voice. That's always what I grew up announcing. Hey, everybody, welcome to what's going on? Hey, we're on the voice. So that's how I really started. But when I was in San Francisco, I started out in actually print, which is model things that every Sunday paper I was typically in for ads, Sears, posing or whatever. And then I really wanted to do TV work too. So I'm a little bit different that I actually do on-camera work at the same time voice. But yes, this is a field where it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't even matter, it doesn't matter. Well, just your foundation of your interviews, it doesn't matter if you're disabled, what color you are, how young you are, old you are. Right now, I could act as if I was 9 or 90. It doesn't matter. You can act with your voice for whatever. Like I said, can I do that, or I could do cartoon characters? But people typically don't worry about a camera. They're just in a room like this, and there's less. You're more vulnerable when you're not seen, per se. So voiceover people are just, when you say, oh, you want a camera? I don't know. It's a whole nother wall you're breaking, a whole nother way to communicate that doesn't come in when they're just on a microphone. Yesterday I was playing a blues singer in Chicago like that. I could just be, so I could be seen as somebody. Yeah, everybody's on play a song now from Gut Bucket Blues. But I was different. I could be somebody in the crowd. It's just the ability to do any and everything you want if they choose your voice. But voice is a really fun place for me, and I again, it's most of my day to be able to do this. But tons of people that will do this. They're in a room like this or in a studio and they're by themselves. And you just have a script. You have a spec. We want you to sound like this. You want you to be this, this old, this young, female, male. It doesn't qualify you. You have to be seen that way. We just have to close your eyes and I think I can see that with my mind. So it's the theater of mind, just like reading a book or something else that you're playing a character but you're not seeing it. It's the imagination when you use your voice, imagination. So most people, when they say, oh, you got to combine your face and your voice, wait a minute, you say that? Hold on, I don't want to be seen too. So it's different. But no, I do this. I do both. I try to go both worlds. It's just having, especially in entertainment, because the jobs are so lucky to have. You can do both, and you're better equipped to survive. On camera or just, I don't have a lot of TV things down. I'm really pressed the voice. Or I'm doing more TV and less voice. So or even writing, it can add to that writing. So being in this work or directing or writing, films, there's a lot more than just, the performer. It's just about being able to be flexible enough to do more. And I enjoy it compared to my old life again, where I was selling a hyped up piece of hardware that you really don't care about, a screw or a piece of paper or a spring or something. You have to be passionate about this piece of wood. I really love the way this thing performs, and you're just trying to make a check. But now I love being able to do characters and talk about something that's meaningful. I think last time we talked, I talked about what I do when I read to kids. I do something like that. That's can be just one story, one mentoring afternoon with some kid can mean a lot more that you don't really know later in their life. So that's something that I have ability to go do because I have more time, and I'm associated with people who do that. So it's a fun life for me now, even though I'm not. The $1 million are still looking for their way down the hall. I'll keep working for it.
The way we're talking, we're got in a little bit talk about gun control and everything, but would you have an issue talking about that, or what's that a subject?
No, we can talk about anything and everything. Listen, I'm old enough. I'm not bounded by any contracts. Like Cheerios is saying, don't you talk about squirrel hunting. It's just it's smart. If I'm gonna play a character for somebody else, I'll do that. But it has nothing to do with my own personal feelings. And I think maybe only time that would really matter, Keith, for instance, you're talking about something racial that's really offensive, somebody's crazy like Donald Southern, the guy who's on the Clippers, who owns the Clippers now, did use the N-word and all that stuff, or really, back gun control or gay rights or something like that, just totally offending somebody, or just remember the KKK? Somebody that's so harsh that offends everybody in a certain religion, gender, or what we talk about, disabilities or something like that, then it's an issue. But if it's just day-to-day subjects, like for instance, gun control or something, we shouldn't shy away from having to talk about. If I'm doing a commercial for NRA, well, hey, this is the way I feel, but here's the spot. It's not so much it's going to interfere with my ability to do the work. Listen, I have a choice to do the work too. That's also an option. If I really disagree with a company or something that I need to represent, then I'm not going to do it. I had that actually happen when I was in the corporate world. As I told you about, I was working with aerospace, and I worked with companies around the world. South African Airways came at the company I was working with, and I worked with all the airlines around the world. And we put the insulation inside of planes, tapes and so forth.
Yeah.
This was the time when apartheid was still going in. Mandela had not been released. And you're not old enough to remember most of that stuff, but I told my company I was not going to work with South Africa.
How come?
That's it. I wasn't going to do it. I felt that strongly about it, that the way they apartheid was part of the system, and the way they abused black people in Africa, and for me to just openly, it wasn't going to be something that was visible on the news. It wasn't going to be something that was broadcast around the world. Mark Neely works for South Africa. No, it's just my own personal feeling that I'm not going to put my time and effort into a country that treated human beings the way they treated human beings. So, and the companies backed me up on that, and they didn't give me a hard time. But it was my own personal feeling. I had option to stand up to that, as will anybody to anything. So everybody's got a choice, and for whoever it is, it's just what they choose to do. You can't argue with them.
All right, no, I agree with you. Now, you did bring up a couple good subjects, gun controls and gay rights. If you don't have a problem with that, I do like to get your opinion on it. That's the whole point of my talk show, too. But like I said, I'm not going to force it on you. You can always pass on what you don't want to talk about.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned a good subject about the whole basketball thing going on, where the guy had a private conversation with his girlfriend. What's your opinion on that? Or, I know it doesn't really matter.
I'm not remembering his name. I blocked it out. Is Sutherland or Donald Southern? I can't remember. His owner. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name off the top of the thing. But I tell you what, I here's what I think too. Not only him, but I think most Americans with a private, we would all have something to go answer for, especially if we had a fame level. If everybody heard all our conversations, private text, private emails, which you think are private. So that part of it, I'm offended by that this lady released it to try to get back at him. I call her the gold digger of the year, whatever, That part is offensive to me, to be able to have somebody just go release what you talk about, which you think is private, no matter what the ugliness is of you're talking about. Having said that, though, the way he talked about people, that's just really, when you get to the nitty-gritty of it, think about it. His team is probably 90% black people that play for him. Plenty of black. I've gone to the NBA games. A lot of people, I've paid them $200 to go sit down in a seat. He has that thought process of, I don't want to be these people who look like me in the arena. And I think he was talking about people that were going with his girlfriend. That's even crazier. He's still married, has this woman, I don't know, girl on the side, I don't know who she is. But to have him be offended that somebody's with her, I think that was more of his way of talking. But he just talked about people as if they were still indentured servants to just play basketball on his team. And he's the one who's helping them eat or have a house. And it's just a whole opinion that is truly, truly to the core offensive. But I think a lot of people think that way. I would think about the people he said people were calling him offended that he had that opinion or that Magic Johnson was with his girlfriend. I would like to have the tape on those people talking to him. Those people don't get mentioned. Who are those other people? Other owners, country club people, people walking around in the grocery store. It's just a whole nother level of people that don't get publicized and seen. But I think it's probably a lot more than people think. It's not just some kind of crazy minority of somebody that had that opinion. I think it's a lot of people. So it's not that it's gone away. It's 2014. Shouldn't be. It's not 1914 or 1814. But in some people's heads, the way they speak, like this owner did, you still would think it would be that way. So I'm offended at what he did, but I'm also offended that to get back at him some kind of way, she let his private conversation go, which is not right. But it was also not right for him to say what he had to say. I won't be going to any Clippers games, so which they are here in Los Angeles where I'm at. I'm just offended by that, man. At my age, nobody's gonna get my money if I don't like you. Forget it, man. I'm not gonna buy anything from you, a button or $200 NBA seat. So, it's unfortunate, but again, I think a lot of people think that way. It's just tough to realize that.
Well, I think that's the thing about people. People get in this mindset, and you can say it's a generation thing, or it could just be ignorance. But people just get in this mindset where they think it's okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's crazy. For all ages, too. And you see kids thinking that way, too, because they weren't taught another way. They've got parents and grandparents who think that way. Therefore, they do. And it's unfortunate.
Well, the next question I was going to ask you is about I mentioned trying to find a word for it, the generation gap. When you were a kid, when I was a kid, we have this in common. We went outside, you spent time with their families, had fun with friends. We didn't have any of these iPhones, iPads.
Video games.
do you think people in this generation, especially, two questions. Do you think, number one, do you think people in this generation are spoiled? And do you think with everything being politically correct, you can't talk like this, you can't say this, do you think our kids are being too pushed to the right, saying you can't speak like this, can't speak like that, being raised? I'll give you a perfect example. You look at the 80s cartoons, and there's a lot of gay humor in it, and there's a lot of fucked up humor in it.
Yeah.
But it's fine, that's why I made it good. But today people are saying about SpongeBob, and it's like, I would recommend this over Looney Tunes. Looney Tunes is too violent. Do you think they're making the generation stupider or just more selfish?
For just cartoons?
Well, that's in general.
In general? Well, I'll say this. It's when you look at just one thing that I actually just start here when it comes to kids. I mean, most, and I've got my phone buzzing now, but most of the kids you see are doing this. Their heads are bent down. They're doing that. And funny, I'll relate it directly to my relatives. I have a couple nieces that, if I get them on the phone, it's like, hi, yes, how you doing? Yeah, I'm doing okay. Yeah, all right. But if I text them, it's a whole paragraph of words, so their whole mindset now is to work to communicate that way. So think about it, man. Used to be communication. You talk to each other, you look at each other, you interact, and they think that's the norm, where you work on these devices and you're isolated in some way. So it's a little different deal growing up. We can't know. We can't realize. Can't go back to this. It's funny. I mean, the people that we saw back in the 50s, 30s, and 40s, or whatever it was, you say, they're nuts. What are they doing? They can't even, they just didn't have a TV. They just listened to the radio. So every generation has this new things to deal with that you could not understand if you're, seeing where they were. But, back to cartoons, it's tough to know what works and what influence it is. Music, cartoons, whatever it might be. People think some of the violence that was in some of the music, rock music, had people going killing people. I mean, people are going to do, yes, they're influenced, but somebody who's already tilted over the edge of the ledge, whatever, they're ready to jump, they're going to jump, or do something crazy. And it's not based on just that medium that had them going there, but they're already slanted to do something idiotic, and that maybe pushed them a little bit to consider it. But that's when you talk about that generation thing, that's the first thing I think of. Everybody's different. And I thought about this the other day, Keith. Even when, and again, I'm much older than you, but when rap came out, new format, it was crazy. Wow, check them out. Not singing a song, but they're talking it. These black guys running around and they got sweatsuits on, whatever. That was the form. Now there's a whole nother form. Well, a lot of these kids are just talking about anything. I'm eating potato chips and I'm walking through the house. There's nothing political inside of it. There's nothing, no form. It's no structure. So the people who started rap think that these kids now are, how could they? What are they doing, these kids today? It's that whole discussion that people's back in rock and roll. They're shaking their hips. What are they doing with that? It's every generation thinks the newer one. They don't know what's going on. So it's funny how that works. Now to see that even in the outside of things, rap community, where it's all fun and just pop, we're not the norm. But even inside of that has its different levels of what's old, what's new, what's different, young, old. So that's just part of time and what's going to go on forever, forever.
Well, you did bring up 2 points that's very interesting. The first one is you mentioned how rap changed over the years. But do you think there should be limits on, using the N-word and bitches and hoes?
Yeah. Not to cut you off, but I just, Maya Angelou just passed away.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Her history. The author, the poet, Maya Angelou?
No, I don't.
you should go look her up after this. She was a famous poet from the 60s. Well, she was through that generation with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, but she just passed away recently, but she's done tremendous work with being a political activist. Again, her major thing was to be a poet, but she's written some books and so forth, but she was very intelligent, and you can look her up on YouTube. But the thing is, she had something she said to Dave Chappelle. There was a thing they had a little, it's called Iconoclast, that Robert Redford put together this whole show where two different people in different levels or age groups, that would talk to a young person and an old person. And so Dave Chappelle, the newer comic to her, she's in her 70s. And she had a story where she talked to Tupac about something. And he was angry at some event and so forth. Well, she was doing a movie with him called Poetic Justice. That's what it was. Janet Jackson. John Singleton was directing it. And he was arguing with somebody and so forth. But the major point, Dave Chappelle was asking her about that N-word situation too. And she says, anything, the word is the word. But I don't care how you dress it up. Okay, well, I say it's a term of endearment for younger kids. And when you said it before, you were being racist and hateful. But anytime you have a bad, spoiled piece of chicken, or whatever, okay, when you dress it up, you might refry it or you put some other dressing on. Anytime you dress up something that's horrible, it's still horrible. That's not really going to change. I don't know if I'm making that clear. Something that's bad, something that's meant to be hurtful, even if you say it's a term of endearment, it's still going to smell a little bit. Not just to everybody who's using it, but I hear kids using it all the time with each other, and I think for me, it's not a good thing to do. I might be fun with his little future jokes, but it's not at all part of my daily speech, or it really never was. But again, I didn't grow up. Now it's something the kids, I heard doesn't just back and forth, like it was nothing. And to me, it's a little sorrowful to hear that's how the normal speech is. So, but that again, the bitches and holes and all that stuff. That again, it was part of the music, part of the speech, and part of where you grow up and what you say to each other. What becomes the normal, and it wasn't the norm for me to use those words or even that speech. I was more R&B generation instead of rap. So it's different for me. I can't speak to what I would be doing now. I would have to think I wouldn't, but I'm not going to say that these kids are, horrible to be able to use it, but just to realize what they're doing. Here's what it is. Just think about it. Instead of just saying, stop that talk, don't talk like that. You can't do that. Everybody's got their different way to communicate, different way to phrase, because they learn it from each other. And it's not going to stop, but it's good for like what Maya Angelou did, just to recognize what this is. Just recognize it. I grew up in a time where, people were hung, or people did this for just looking at somebody if I was black. My parents are from Nashville, Tennessee, so I spent time down there. And if I was caught walking with a white woman or something, I could be like what happened with, I don't know the name, if you know the name, Emmett Till, down in Mississippi. They had 3 people killed during the civil rights situation where just Warner Cheney and Emmett Till, they just killed him because he had a flip comment to somebody. That's just the way it was. So it was easier to be killed. So that generation grew up saying, well, you can't use those words. And now it's just like, whatever. So just like we're talking about music, every generation's different. Personally, if I had a kid walking around and said, man, you need to freeze on those words a little bit, calm down, because they're not necessary for normal speech. I don't use them in my work because my work is speech, but I can't sit and say, you kids get off my lawn kind of discussion. That's what just old man with not being able to listen and evaluate what's going on does, and I don't want to be that type of ear, so to speak.
All right, and I appreciate your feedback, and that's the whole point of this talk show. It's to hear my opinion, hear your opinion, and one thing about this country that makes it great is freedom of speech. Right. Now, moving on to our happier subject, I don't want our listeners think whatever they're thinking. How did you get into the whole acting voiceover gig?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was actually, to tell you what, I had thought about it for a long time, but I was actually in Montreal, Canada, and I was doing some work, and this was just like a movie situation. I was had my briefcase crossing the street, and the light turned green, and I was ready to go, and I actually just stood there. I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be in this city talking about something I don't really want to talk about. And the company was going to starting to have some problems, and I said, I don't want to go through this phase where I've got to go find more work for something I really don't want to do. So I decided at that point I was going to investigate what it took, and actually spoke it out loud to my, at that time, brother-in-law. I want to be a voice actor. I just said it. I didn't, I just said, read all the things about positive affirmation and law of attraction, and that, things that you want to do. You just speak it, write it down, and make it as a goal. So I made that as a goal, not knowing what the journey would be taking me, but I knew I wanted out. So I decided I went out and I started taking a few classes and met some people. And pretty quickly after I made that determination, I got to go. But it still took me another year to leave the corporate work after I made that decision. And I got a couple agents in San Francisco fairly quickly. And again, I think we said I did some modeling. I did some things where you stand there, or, hey everybody, stuff like that. But the voice jobs started to trickle in. The acting side started to trickle in. San Francisco is not that busy of a TV town, even though it is busier than Kansas or somewhere. But to be really working was here in Los Angeles. So I came down here one summer with my aunt and got agents very quickly, Keith. And I just have been blessed that, I've done soap operas, I've done everything. I played cops almost a dozen times, a lawyer or something, just something they'll let me do that they think I fit. But I'm always out there actively getting into it. But I just knew I wanted to leave that rat race that I told you about. I was on the 2 weeks of every month, and I couldn't do it anymore. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I could have, but I wasn't married, I didn't have kids, and I didn't own a big house, so I didn't have those kind of obligations that sometimes keep people doing what they necessarily don't want to do, but have to do. And even though I could have, I just didn't want to, and decided to change my life. I lost a lot of yearly earnings, pretty quickly over the years, but this is what I love. This is what I love.
Yeah, that's great. That's what I'm trying to find words for it. That's great. I'm good. You're happy. I'm happy. I'm going to give you a perfect example. When I started my talk show, you're one of them, and I don't want people to think I'm racist. And I don't mean to say one of them. It's, assholes.
You call me one of them, man?
No disrespect. For example, there's people in general, we're good friends, and there's a couple other people who say, what you're doing is very supportive. But there's, on the other hand, my own family's not even supportive. It's you can do whatever you want as long as no one shows up at the door. Anyone shows up the door, your ass is on the street.
Wow. Well, you got to do what you feel inside, and that guides anybody who's doing something that's positive. I mean, any of these billionaires or millionaires are doing something that they want to do. Nobody's forcing them to make $1 million. Or they're doing something they want to do at the start, then it grows into something else. So we have to start there. So I applaud you, wherever this takes you, whatever it's doing now in our relationship in the future. You don't know, but you have to start there. Do what you want to do, which we're both doing. And I mean, it's even more. It doesn't mean that you need to have to necessarily end up Forbes type 500. You just do. The happy is the goal. I think that's the success of it. The journey is always going to be the journey. We never know. But if you guys as of today, what is it today? Wednesday, the 18th. I'm happy. So I'm happy. So that's the judge of this whole situation. I woke up happy, now, and I plan on being happy the rest of the day, no matter what comes across. So that's the key to this. And again, I applaud you for reaching out and making this happen and connecting with people that feel or don't feel the same way. At least the opportunity to talk to them about their feelings, because you're going to get all types of opinions. Some you don't agree with, some you do, but that's okay. That's what the dialogue is about.
Yeah, I appreciate it, and it really means a lot to me coming from you. Now, moving on, do you have any funny stories you like to share over being in a company to doing voiceovers. I bet you have a lot of different funny stories over the years.
From this work, it's a couple from this week, but I really not going to share those. I don't have a long list of those. I just will say that in my travels, I had so many things happen on airplanes, back and forth in meetings. The list is long, but I would just keep it to this. I'm having fun, and I'm sorry I don't have something ready to tell you like it's some big, Tonight Show live. It's coming out the street. No, it's just that I'm good. I'm good now, and I bet if we kicked it for another couple hours, I'd come up with other things. But I'll just say things are good, man, and I'm having fun, even inside of whatever issues might come up. Because actually, this week we had some really horrible stuff happen. But the day before, we was like, oh no, the equipment didn't work. It had this big clank happening, and didn't happen. What's going to do? Is the sky going to fall? We woke up and it was, wait a minute, the sun did come up. Wow, it's sunlight. The clouds do move on. So that's all I'll share with you. It's okay. Things that may seem to be horrid at the time, they don't stay there. So instead of me trying to think of some kind of antidote, it's everything's cool right now, man. Everything's good.
All right. Well, wrapping up the talk show, and like I said before we go, do you have any subjects you feel passionate about that you like to talk about? Do you have any questions you would like to ask me?
Well, no, I think a lot of the things we got covered, and I'm just curious about your involvement and what things are you up to lately, and if there's anything coming up that you want to share. Because we haven't talked in a bit, but I think we covered it. I'm really happy with these topics, and just I've got a day of. I just finished an audio book, which ought to be out soon, from a lady named Juanita Clark. She is the author, and that's going to be up, and maybe I'll share that with you. And I've got a Toyota commercial, as I said, coming up in the East Coast. Just did a film with the legendary Marla Gibbs. She was a comedic actress that was on 227, actually, the Jeffersons, way back in the 80s and 70s. Oh, God, when's that on? That was back in the day, man. So I'm active, but no, I'm fine my way. But just anything coming up for you, share what you've got going on. Okay?
Well, for the most part, people can go over to the KeithAndrewNetWork.com and they can see my latest episodes. I was going to say this off the air, but you're hinting towards it. I am working on my own audiobook, and I would love to work with you on that.
Sure.
I was debating, should I do an audiobook, should I have a normal book? And I was like, let me do both and see which one picks up, which one gets more. But, I'm working on my book every day. I've been working on LinkedIn, looking for people constantly. I was mostly turned down by most people. They say, oh, I think what you're doing on your talk show is great, but I really want nothing to do with it. More of those people. I don't know why, but I guess they don't like the conversations or subjects. But what's your opinion about my topics and show? Do you think I'm doing a good thing? Or
it's fine. No, it's fine. It's good. It's good stuff. But I will say your audio. Yeah, do both. Your written. That's how it actually happens. People do actual written books that you can hold and look at and turn in the library or whatever. But the audio books are also the equal part of that now. People almost sometimes put those out, and most of what's being produced by these audio companies, like Audible, ACX, or Amazon, they're redoing titles and copies that have been around for years. So the work is just all of they're emailing me all the time to get involved, and they're just a ton of backlog of titles that need to be audioed. They need audio work. So if you're finished, when you finish your book or when you're on it, just have that done at the same time, because there's people that listen to and use both mediums. Reading them in their hand and also audio in a car or just turning on the speakers. So good luck to you, man. I look forward to reading it and listening to it. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So wrapping up, do you have anything you want to say to your fans and listeners out there?
No, just again, well, thanks for having me. And again, you can see me at markaneely.com, markaneely.com, and that's where my demos and my my reels of what I've done on TV, a little bit of there, and some comments, and I actually have a link to a magazine I have, which is a little different. It's for my own background, but just say thanks to you, Keith, and hope to talk to you again soon.